zoning board of appeals meeting for December 4th, 2018 will now come to order. Please call the roll.
Mr. Wooten?
Present.
Mr. McElroy?
Present.
Mr. Figueroa? Absent. Mr. Wood? Absent. Mr. Cole?
Present.
Mrs. Curley?
Present.
Mr. Calnan? Absent. Mr. Gisono?
Present. We have a quorum. Motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting on November 20th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cole, second by Ms. Curley. Yay?
Yes.
Yay? Floyd?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the minutes. So the first case tonight will be 31 Range Heights, number 9851. Mr. Cole, will you read it, please?
Yep, so to allow a 9x7 shed on an existing single-family residence that encroaches within the side yard and front yard setback. We held this over, we continued it so that we could receive a new certified plot plan showing the shed and the fence on the property.
Do you have a plot plan? Get a plot plan?
Yep.
Thank you.
So it looks like you brought it back in after that. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing that there's no questions, it seems like this was just carried over to the plot plan. For a motion?
Yeah, I'll just say that this is exactly what we were looking for. This is perfect. I really have no problems with it.
You did too?
It took a little while, but
Saved money last time.
it was a strike three.
So is there
Didn't strike out, right?
You know?
Yeah.
is that a motion? No, no.
And I'll make a motion to grant.
A second.
Okay, so the motion by Mr. Cole and seconded by Mr. Hackler. Please call the roll.
Mr. Wooten?
To grant.
Mr. McElroy?
Grant.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Curley?
Yes to grant.
And Mr. Gisono?
Yes, to grant.
Would you do me a favor? Would you just, just sign this?
Yep.
Goes in the file.
Absolutely.
Sign it.
So that is done. We'll get that for the file.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the second case this evening will be another continued case, number 143 South Street, number 9858.
Yeah, so this is to allow alterations to a one-story garage in the Arthur Apartment House District on a non-conforming lot containing 8,725 square feet and frontage of 49.12 square feet with a pre-existing non-conforming two-family dwelling thereon, and to permit a two-story addition above the garage to be used for dwelling purposes. Said lot with less than the required lot size, frontage, and right side yard, with lot coverage in excess of 40%.
I'll open it.
I'm Attorney Vitale. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner. See me right here, this is Joseph Rock. This is Helen, his grandmother, who's lived at the house for 19 years with her daughter Teresa. This is Mr. Maldonado, Mr. Bill. As Mr. Cole read, we're seeking essentially permission to put in a two-story addition on the garage. The garage is almost, in fact, it's probably bigger than the dwelling unit, which is a 1.5-story home. Joseph's got two sets of twins, one-year-old, two of them. Yeah, and the second set at 3 years old, so he's got 4 kids. And as his grandmother will tell you that when they acquired the property and when they subsequently refinanced it, their intention was to ultimately provide housing for her daughters and for her grandson. So right now, on the first floor of the existing home, she lives with one of her daughters, and the other daughter lives upstairs. And what this would be is, if the board would allow the addition to be built, a third unit in which Joseph and his growing family would reside. It's a large garage. It has sufficient space for 3 vehicles inside. There is a plan I think Mr. Reed did that shows 2 vehicles outside, a total of 5. It retains, the lot is a long rectangular lot. It retains the rear yard where there's an above-ground pool and has some green space with respect to that. It has an existing drive that is there. And the request before you is because the existing home was pre-existing non-conforming, having been built many years ago prior to the adoption of the zone ordinance. So the existing home, as you can see from Mr. Reed's plan, doesn't have and never had the requisite right side line. It has setback front. It does not have lot coverage in excess of 40%. Mr. Reed's plan, I think, says it's got 24%. And that's because the footprint of the garage stays the same even when you put the addition in. This was before the board, and I asked to have it continued because Mr. Maldonado couldn't be here. I didn't have his plan. Don't travel on Thanksgiving weekend because he got caught in Orlando and couldn't get back. He would have arrived after your meeting ended. Apparently when you travel on Thanksgiving or those crowded weekends, they also put you on the next flight because the next flight's like oversold and sold out. So when I knew he couldn't be here, I asked to have it continued. He is here. He has a plan, which I will let him explain to you about the second and the addition above the garage. If you recall, Mr. Maldonado got a little experience in doing this. We had some degree of success. If you look at what's going on next to the Hibernian, there is the existing garage and the renovations that have occurred to create apartments above at the corner of Boston and Frederick. You know how little I know about building, so I've asked him to explain that.
Sure. The idea is probably, if we get approval, is to bring this garage to a unit with 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a kitchen, living in the dining room. Very simple. Obviously, there's going to be under the garage, there's going to be 3 parking spaces that it shows on the plot plan, and we probably going to be following whatever directions required by the professional architect or engineer to comply with fire rating and whatever requirements.
So this is so there are 2 units going on.
There is a single with a 2-story, yes.
Garage on the first floor.
Correct, garage.
So you're gonna have 8 bedrooms? Because there's gonna
No.
be 2 units?
No, it's gonna be
There's 1 unit.
1 unit with 4 bedrooms.
That's for Joseph.
Correct.
So you're basically-
Possible to repeat your name for the record?
I'm sorry?
You should repeat your first name.
Sure, the first what, I'm sorry?
Name.
Name, Peter Maldonado, Bright Contracting.
Address.
426 Boston Street, Lynn, Mass.
Thanks.
Do you have any elevations of what?
Yeah, do you have a
the building?
schematic of what it was gonna look like?
Right, this is basically, the elevation, we don't have yet, but we're gonna be working on between 30 to 35. We're not gonna be good more than 35 feet high. That includes to the top of the roof.
What's it gonna look like though?
That's the next set of plans that we are gonna be getting soon. Unfortunately, we did not get that today. We only have what we actually gave it to the architect. This is basically what we actually expecting from him to work on. This is what my friend Joe is looking for.
So you're basically putting a 2-story house on top of the garage.
Correct.
That's a significant addition to that lot.
I think it's a significant add without having any kind of idea of what it's gonna look like too.
Part of it was that we made an arrangement, and I can't fault the architect, the fault is ours, that we described what we wanted, but I can only describe it in words. I asked that this plan be given to them because we know that to build anything other than a 1 or 2 family, you need what's called controlled construction. Controlled construction requires an architect to put his stamp and fill out an affidavit. but the architect has to reflect what it is you want and what you need. So what we want and what Joe needs is a space for his family. So that I don't know, and I still don't know whether there's anybody here in opposition. I didn't want to continue the case further because you extended me the courtesy last time, and it was our fault. And now I think what Peter wanted to do is to determine what input there was from the board as far as oftentimes the board asks about exterior or asks about the interior layout. And so, because it's going to cost Joe a sum of money to get architect's plans, that we get a plan that would satisfy the board and suit his needs. And so I asked Peter to be here. I asked her to be here as well, Helen to be here. So as far as the plan, he can speak to it. I agree. The one thing I said, it can't go over 35 feet. I had some questions about the fire separation. I know a little bit about that. I asked about that.
Well, not to cut you short, Sam, but I mean, the code issues are not for us. That's not what we do here, but you're essentially looking to add a house onto this lot, and I, for one, would like to see what it's gonna look like.
Oh, I understand that, but let me just say this, that in an apartment house district, you need a 50 feet frontage, we got 49 points. In an apartment house district, more than one building is permitted on the lot for residential purposes. So that's consistent with the use of the, I don't disagree with you in terms of the plans. I'm just saying that I got it as far as I could, given what they've given to me. And then when I explained to them that I thought the board would need that, they then came back to me and said they didn't want to make the expenditure unless they had some sense of what it is the board is looking for in the plan, beyond what we have. I know elevation would certainly be one. Exterior, the only thing I can point to is the one that Peter's working on right now at 426 Boston.
I can't vote on this without,
I understand that, but I'm just,
I know.
I didn't want to be unfair to these people, and as I say, I don't know if there's anybody here in the neighborhood, I didn't want to drag people out 15 times, or whether they were here last time, so.
Can we do this with conditions to probably, we're not extending anything bigger than whatever that's existing already? We're just working with existing garage? We're just going up 2-story? We're not gonna be going to the side, we're not going to the back, we're just gonna stick with the same layout as existing?
Same footprint.
But you're
Right.
still building a deck.
What's that?
You're still putting a deck
No,
on the back of it, right?
we're not.
You know.
No, I don't think none of that way, no.
So what is this one?
That's an existing deck.
So you are making, see, that's the point, is you are making changes to what's there, and you're making substantial changes to what's there. So, you know, we can't just give you carte blanche to go do what you want. You know, you gotta tell us what you wanna do and show it to us.
I understand, but before, this is the reason why we are here tonight, is just to have an idea, we're gonna be allowed to do a single, or two.
See, but you're asking us to tell you whether you're gonna be allowed to do, we don't know what you're asking to do.
Well, I think that the better thing would be, as I understand it from this layout, and from what I can see, it's a 2-story addition with 2 bedrooms on the floor, first floor above the garage, 2 bedrooms on the floor above that.
Correct.
And then a kitchen, living room.
Kitchen and living room is gonna be right above the garage, right over the garage.
Well, everything's above the garage, right?
I understand, I'm talking about the second floor, not on the third floor. Third floor is gonna be just the bedrooms, to my understanding, I don't know. But what we have,
I'm not voting on anything without drawings.
All
So-
right, but, so if we can get, we have an architect who said he would do it, but he wanted to see what they,
So the second floor is just gonna be 2 bedrooms?
no, I think this is incorrect, and I apologize, I believe
Just
this.
said 2, that's why.
Second floor is gonna be kitchen, living room, dining room. Third floor is gonna be all 4 bedrooms. All the sleeping rooms are gonna be up on the third floor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we
you're
did not
talking that's the
use that
garage is
Yes,
the first
yes.
floor we're talking, right? You're talking
sorry?
The garage is the first floor.
Garage is the first floor, ground level is the
So
garage.
the top floor is going to be 4 bedrooms.
Correct. the second floor, where the floor, well, right above the garage is gonna be the kitchen, living room, dining room.
It's 3 stories.
Three-story.
It's a 3-story
Yeah.
house. Yeah.
So,
No, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I think you made a right decision in one sense, because this is not a controversial, but it's a significant, what you're proposing here is significant to that lot, and you probably correctly thought that there may be some concern about it. I think so. So I perfectly understand what you know, your position. But I got to tell you, even if you were to spend the money on the plans, I have concerns about the size of the addition. So I just want to lay that out there. I don't think I could support something like a 2-level addition on top of the garage. I just think it's way too much for that lot.
Well, we have
I'm just telling you.
person here who wants to speak.
I'll be able. Everybody can speak. You know
Right.
that.
if they're in favor, I mean,
I'm just telling you. You know.
I would not straggle too far from disagreeing with Norm, so just to lay it on the table, if you're trying to get a scent temperature for where the board sits, I'm giving you the temperature that I have.
But that's why I bring that table, well, we do this with conditions that we have. Let's say, for example, you say, okay, I don't feel comfortable, we go with 3 stories, we go 2 stories, we do.
Yeah, but you still
Just-
have to draw it, and you gotta see a drawing, no matter what.
I mean, at least.
So you
some
just
sort
would
of
have one story in
elevation.
Yeah.
the garage?
Right.
with-
Yeah.
Well, the worst come to worst, I think we can live with that too, if we have,
So
if that would be.
four
Some,
bedrooms.
some sort of elevation, even if we
Right.
saw this.
Even if it's one side, right? I mean, the front
Yeah.
elevation, or one side in the front, I mean, just some sort
Oh,
of,
no, elevation.
you know, idea of what it's gonna look like is gonna.
Well, that's what I say, we do this with conditions, that we're not gonna be 30 feet high, we're gonna stay with
It's
30.
hard that you're telling us that we have to give you something. I think you need to show us, because we can't make any decision.
Well, all this comes from the architect, we're actually asking me, all this, what the elevations are gonna be allowed by the board. I
I
said, well,
understand. So let's say that we see the 3-story elevation and it's not what we want, then he can modify it, he can just chop it off and drop it down.
So did you have other people that wanna speak in
Just
favor of
me.
this, Sam? So,
Another person.
Okay.
thank you. You guys wanna speak in favor? Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this?
I don't know, I just wanted to have it done, so.
I'll just give you a name and address, hon, and that's all. Just-
Helen DeMars, and I own property, 143 South Street in Lynn. I've been there 19 years. And just, I refinanced the house so Joseph could build on the top of the garage, you know, for his kids. And so I understand what you're telling them, the paperwork and stuff, so.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor?
Joseph Rock, 33 Beach Ave, Swampscott. I started this because I seen Pedro doing the 2-level in Boston Street, so I figured I'd give him a call, see what I can do. Born in Lynn, I just moved to Swampscott recently, and my grandmother's pretty much the only one that helps out with the kids. So I thought, let me go back, so we ended up refinancing with my grandmother and my other aunt. So we decided some of the money would go towards the build, and it would just be beneficial to our family. And I know as the board, you guys are thinking long-term, but the lot itself is huge. Like the parking should be no problem. Obviously the plans, like you guys said, there's nothing really there. I'll pay the money to get the plans, and you guys probably have a better idea of what you guys want to do. So,
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing that there isn't, I'll open the floor for anybody in opposition. Is there anybody in opposition? Seeing that there's none, I'll close it. Give them an opportunity to... You guys want to continue, Sam, or you want us to vote, or?
Okay. So we can present that to the architect. Now, at least get some guidance with respect to, I had an understanding, I wanted them to get an understanding.
What do you think you need, Sam? You want next meeting, or you want 2, or?
I honestly don't know when the next meeting is.
I don't either, to be honest. Mary, when is it?
January 15th?
Oh, that's...
You think that's good?
I thought it might be like January 4th or
Okay.
something. That's fine.
I'll make a motion to continue it to January.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mr. Cole, seconded by Ms. Curley. Call the roll.
Mr. McElroy?
Yes, continue.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes, to continue.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Curley?
Yes.
Mr. Jussono?
Yes, to continue. January, what'd you say? January 15th.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Next case is going to be 129 Dartmouth Street. Petition of Patricia Scannigan by attorney Thomas DeMarcus to allow the reconfiguration of 4 lots containing a total of 24,000 feet into 2 lots, one containing 15,000 feet with an existing single-family house, and the other a vacant lot containing 9,000 square feet upon which a single-family dwelling can be built with less than the required area in the R1 district.
Good evening. My name's Thomas DeMarcus. I'm an attorney for the petitioners. I'm here in Lynn with office address of 56 Central Avenue. I was here a few weeks ago on this same matter, and it kind of got bollocksed up on a number of levels, and I ended up withdrawing it without prejudice. One thing was that I know that Mr. Cole and Mr. Jussono thought that the petition could have been worded more clearly to indicate that what we were asking for was a buildable lot on the parcel that we're hoping to split off from the current parcel. And I worked with Mr. Donovan on that wording, and I hope it's clear to everybody. Mrs. Curley wanted to see the lot staked, so we staked the lot, and Mr. Calnan was concerned that we would have to take action within a year, and my clients indicated they weren't prepared to sell the lot within a year if you granted the relief. But it turns out, and after again checking with Mr. Donovan on this, that if we go to the planning board and have them subdivide the lot, assuming you guys give us permission to subdivide the lot tonight, that that's sufficient action to take within 1 year. So I had a brain cramp last time. I apologize for that. And so I'm back. Now, just to refresh your recollection on the facts, I don't know if I put this in the package, Mary, but I did? You guys got
I got
it?
more paperwork on this case.
Okay. All right. So when Miss Skankus' dad built the house, he combined 4, this is a subdivision, as you can see from the assessor's map, of mainly 6,000 square foot lots. And he combined 4 of them into a 24,000 square foot lot and built the house in that. But the character of the neighborhood, most of these houses are on 6,000 foot lots. So now what they want to do is they want to split off they have a huge side yard on the left side as you look at the house from the street, and they want to split that off. As a matter of right, they could split it off into a 10,000 foot lot, which meets the minimum area requirements of the zoning ordinance, but it would be a little bit goofy, because to maintain the 10-foot side yard for the existing house, they would have to do a jog in the back of the subdivision line, and that wouldn't look good. And also, the existing house would be unbalanced. It has a 20-foot side yard on the right side, and it would have a 10-foot side yard on the left side. So instead of doing that, we're here to ask the board to let us subdivide the property so that the vacant parcel becomes 9,000 feet instead of 10,000. That results in the lot line dividing the 2 lots being a straight line instead of being a goofy line. And it results in the house which exists being more balanced on the lot, having a 20-foot side yard on that side and a 19-foot side yard on that side. As I said, it's been staked both ways to show where the lot line would be if it's 10,000 feet and where the lot line would be if it's 9,000 feet. And I think it shows clearly on the ground with the with the stakes that it's just not as nearly as aesthetically pleasing as a 10,000-foot lot than as a 9,000-foot lot. And even as a 9,000-foot lot, it's still 50% bigger than almost every other lot in the neighborhood. So that's what we're asking for.
So there's only, if we can ask a question.
Yep.
So you don't have any plans to build any property on this?
Not at the present time.
No, okay.
If you grant the relief we're seeking tonight, we'll go to the planning board, we'll file a subdivision plan, an A&R, what they call an A&R plan, and that'll preserve the right to do it at some point in the future.
Then you're gonna have to come back here, right? for-
No, I won't have to come back. We won't have to come back.
No, if he does the A&R,
We-
then
yeah.
no one does it.
Right. We need both. We need your permission and we need the A&R. But once we get both, if we do get both, we're set.
I can understand why you want to do it, but it's such a beautiful piece of property. I'm thankful I don't live in your neighborhood. I wouldn't want to have to go home and see that change. Just a comment.
Well, we're all getting older, so.
So am I, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm not moving out of my house.
No, we're not moving out of our house, it's just that we have this empty lot that it would be nice down the road to be able to.
No, I understand. I'm not, no, I can understand why you're doing that. I'm just saying it's a shame, the trees, it's like an oasis when you drive down the street. Do you know what I mean? It's so beautiful, it's so well kept, it's so lovely.
Yeah, we don't keep it.
That's all I meant.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? No? Seeing that there isn't, I'll close for those in favor. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing that there's not, I'll close that. What is the wish of the board?
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Cole, seconded by Mrs. Curley. Please call the roll.
Mr. Wooten?
Motion to grant.
Mr. McElwain?
Right.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Curley?
Yes, again.
Mr. Jussono?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Tom, would you sign that plot plan?
Just sign mine?
Yeah, just sign it, this is, we're okay, and that this is what was approved on December 4th, that's all.
All right. All right. Happy holidays to
Same
everybody.
deal.
Thank you.
See ya.
The next case this evening will be 13 Park Street. Petitioner Nadia St. Fleur, by attorney Sam Vitale.
Permit the use of a pre-existing non-conforming two-family residence in the business district on a lot with 7,292 square feet and 66.27 frontage as a two-family dwelling, finding such use is not substantially more detrimental in its effect on the neighborhood.
I'm attorney Sam Vitale. With me are St. Fleurs. One of them's in the restroom, but we'll be back. This case was before the board in 2005, and there were some questions at that time, and I think the passage of time and reality has answered some of those questions. One of the questions, well, first of all, we're in a district in which a two-family dwelling is permitted, and in fact, this dwelling, in 1926, before there was zoning in the city of Lynn, was a two-family dwelling.
Why does the city say it's a single?
Good question. The answer is that in 1956, it's a two-family dwelling. And then at some point in the 1980s, a gentleman named George McIntyre bought the property. The property's in the Business District 3. The city changed zoning around that time to allow lodging houses only in business districts. And Mr. McIntyre came in 1986 and got permission, you get permission to be a lodging house from the license board, and he got permission for a lodging house, and I think I provided the copy of the city directory that showed when it was used as a lodging house. And then there was some problems in his use of the property, and there were letters in the file that show the building department questioning his compliance with certain things. But the good news is that ultimately, the property became hardwired, which is required of a three-family dwelling and a lodging house. And the property became sprinkled, which is required of a lodging house. And now, these days, even could be required of a three-family. So you have a building that's hardwired, that's sprinkled, and that its past history has been, it was a two-family, it was used as a lodging house, and then thereafter, in 2002, these folks bought it. They came, and I think there were two questions from what I could see. One was, some members questioned whether the fact it was, the sprinklers had been active. There was an incident with the sprinklers, I won't out who it was, but somebody was doing like chin-ups on the sprinkler. It caused it.
Pipe burst.
Pipe
burst.
Right. That's what happened. But how did the pipe, it wasn't frozen pipes, it was something else, okay? The property was repaired, and it continued to be used by members of the family. So that you can have people that you're related to by blood or marriage. So mother-in-law moved in, some cousins moved in, and families moved in, and now they're going back to Georgia, most of the family, probably because of the temperature or the weather here, but in any event, they want to be able to use, as they have, the second and third floor for their family. They got 5 children? Yeah, 5 children. And they want to be able to utilize the first floor. So any building that's a
lease out the first floor.
Yeah, right. The character of the area is one, there's a lot like number 12 on a smaller lot, it's a two-family. Directly across the street, number 12 is a program for, I think, unmarried, pregnant women. It's a centerboard operation. There's a church on the corner. So the character of the neighborhood is one I would call mixed uses. And when you go to extend a non-conforming use or a non-conforming structure, you need to be approval of the Board of Appeals to do alterations. That's why we asked for. So I brought with me several things. One is the most recent inspection of the alarm, and the other is the most recent inspection of the sprinkler system. I think I had provided you previously the various city directories that show the use as I characterized. Then the other question was with regard to parking, and I think the one difference with this proposal as opposed to the prior proposal is that we were able to get the parking because you need 3 spaces for a two-family. It's a 2-car garage and 1 space outdoors. Previously, there was, along this area here, there was a proposal to eliminate that. There's a brick wall with a garden little area, grassed-in area, to eliminate that and put a vehicle there. So this plan is different. It retains that area with the greenery and with the wall, and it puts the 3rd space at the back, out where the garage is, and so there's plenty of maneuverability for the 3 spaces. So for two-family dwelling, you need 3 spaces. The last time it was here, the board said there was insufficient parking. There is not insufficient parking, there are 3 spaces, and that's what's required. I hope that you have this plan. If you don't, I can, I made extra copies, but I thought I had provided Mary with a plan.
Is there a right-of-way, does the church have any right-of-way in the back of their property?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that the church told the folks here that they supported the proposal. I think it's the Congregational Church. It's on the corner.
Baptist Church.
Baptist.
How long have these people owned this property?
Since 2002? 2002. So they've been there for 16 years, not going very far.
When I started with 2016, they were renting rooms for $400, and that was a violation.
Where was that?
2005, well, it's on the record.
What record? I searched the street record. I never saw that.
Well, I got this at City Hall.
Can I see the record? I never saw
I
that.
don't have the record, I just wrote it down. You have to go downstairs and ask somebody, they'll show it to you.
Well, I have the incident in 2009 when the
Oh, I
fire,
got
when the
that
fire
too.
department came and the sprinklers
I
broke.
got that. 2015, there was a mice infestation and they were renting rooms. 2014, they were renting rooms in the basement. 2013, They were selling unregistered cars. There was 2012 bed bugs, infestation, and rodents. And it goes on and on. 2009, they were selling cars again. It goes on and on.
It had been used as a lodging house, and the city recognized it as a lodging house through the late 1990s and the early 2000s. When they acquired it, they came here to make it they all they wanted was a two-family, and the board denied them, okay? And so they've lived there for 16 years. I don't think there's been a violation. That's why I'm surprised
All these are
about it.
under violations. It's downstairs.
Excuse me?
All this that I'm telling you is under violation.
Well, I looked at the street record in the ISD. I didn't look in the parking department, where people get tickets for a variety of things. But I didn't look there. But I looked, and I.
These are ISD violations.
Excuse me?
They're all ISD violations.
Well, I'm just telling you that I saw that I have the letter of 2009 when the sprinklers popped. I have a letter after that, but I didn't see
Well, the
health
sprinkler
department
was there
violations.
too, like the fire engines went there.
Excuse
I mean,
me?
I had that too, the sport.
Well, all of that may have been. The real question is, why can't it be a two-family dwelling
Well, with
in
all
a
this
district
going
in which,
on, what's gonna make it better?
excuse me?
With all these.
The ability to have income in a two-family dwelling on a lot that's larger than one that has a two-family dwelling, in a building that was a two-family dwelling before there was zoning in the city of Lynn, okay? A building that's on a large lot, that has sufficient parking, that's got a sprinkler that's not required, that has a hardwire system that's not required. It's got more protections in that two-family dwelling than there are in some apartment houses in the city of Lynn. So in terms of the use, maybe they could be better landlords, but they had family members. I don't tell people how to deal with their mother-in-laws or their cousins. They had people living in there, and in terms of, I acknowledge that Mr. McIntyre ran it as a lodging house. When you ask what happened to make it lose its status, I don't think it really ever lost its status. I think that when you have family members living there who are related by blood of marriage, and I think the board has seen before, where people come in and mom and dad buy a three-family house, and then Johnny gets older and he moves upstairs with his new bride, and then somebody else. They're all, if you looked at that, that's a single-family house because they're all related by blood of marriage. But now Johnny decides to move out and go somewhere else, and there's a vacancy. And the question is, what can they do with the second floor? But the records may reflect, and you've seen it, the assessors may have said, well, when they all lived there, we taxed it as a single family, but now they want to use it as a three-family. They're prepared to pay the taxes on a two-family, have the 3 required parking spaces, have it hardwired, have it a sprinkler system, so they have better protection than most. And they're in a neighborhood, okay? I've got the street list for Park Street. They're in a neighborhood where there are homes that are two-family use on smaller lots, where directly across the street there's a 12 or 14 unit building. There are institutional uses of all kinds along North Common. And so they want to use the property to the extent that they can lawfully. And so if they weren't going to do it lawfully, why would they come here? They came here before to make it a two-family. They come here again to get it recognized as a two-family. The board's question was the smoke detector, the hardwire system, and the sprinkler. There's evidence that they were inspected, they operate. The board's question was the
Hold on,
parking.
time out, Sam. We've got all that, we're getting repetitive now. Is there any other questions of the board? Any other questions of the board? Anybody?
Yeah, I do have a
Sorry.
question. What sort of, okay, it's a single family, it's a quasi-rooming house, there's rooms in the basement. What sort of repairs, modifications, renovations are they proposing for this?
Well, when we talk at the building department, they said because it's classified as non-conforming, and I think that's the way I worded the petition, the way they would have to renovate the first floor. There's 2 means of egress, there's 2 kitchens, it's existed in its present condition for many, many years. And in order to proceed to get the requisite permits, when they were confronted with the same issues, which is, and there are permits in the street record that show some people considered it a two-family, some considered it a real lodging house. So now they come in because they want to renovate the first floor that's going to be empty because the family members that were living there are leaving. They want to occupy as they have the second and the third floor. They got 5 kids. So they want to be on the second and third floor. They lived there for 16 years, and they want to renovate the first floor, but in order to get any permits, they have to get the use recognized, because as you saw in the record, there are things that say it's a one, there are things that say it's a lodging house. It's unclear. So the building department said before you can get a permit to make any alterations, and because the building is non-conforming, the only people that can give you permission to alter a non-conforming building is the Board of Appeals. So they came back.
Any other questions?
No, I'm just saying, we denied this in 2005. So what's really changed?
What changed is that if you look at the denial in 2005, it said insufficient parking. You have a
No,
plan-
that was only one. The other was the density of the neighborhood. And
Excuse me?
The other was density of the neighborhood. Density of the neighborhood.
I understand.
And you laid out exactly.
No, but I'm saying adding one unit, and when you have a non-conforming use or structure, the question is whether what you propose and its effect on the neighborhood is not whether it's detrimental, it's whether it's substantially more detrimental. And I would suggest to you that adding one unit in a neighborhood that's got 12 units, God knows how many across the street at the center house, okay, has institutional uses, to me that's not a substantial detriment. In fact, if you want to see the property maintained, the way to do it is to allow people to get some revenue. Otherwise, you're going to have a single-family house with 12 rooms, of which 4 or 5 are bedrooms, existing. Can't change that. Those are there. And somebody used it more intensively in the past, and it's in the business district. And so this is actually a less intensive use than the prior uses or a business use. So in my way of thinking, it's not substantially more detrimental. It's not even detrimental. It's better. But that's the criteria to alter a non-conforming structure or a non-conforming use. And the only reason they're calling it non-conforming is that even though it had been a two-family for 1926, through the 50s, through the 60s, 70s, until it came to the 80s when gentlemen got permission because it was in the business, they created, it wasn't always in the business district 3, they created the business district 3 on North Common. They had a hope of making professional offices there, many of which are there. And then so they rezoned. It didn't change the building, it changed the district. So now when you're there, you become, if you're residential in a business district, you're non-conforming. But if you're already residential, all you're increasing is number, that's volume. It's still residential use in a business district, and what they're seeking is to add one unit on the first floor and to occupy as they have the second and the third floor. And they want to be able to make the improvements, but they can't get a permit because the building department says you need the permission of the Board of Appeals to alter the non-conforming building.
Any other questions? Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? If there's none, I'll close it for those in favor. Anybody in opposition? Is there anybody in opposition to this petition? Seeing that there's none, I'll close it. Opposition. What is the wish of the board? Anyone? Chair will make a motion to deny. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by the chair and seconded by Mr. Cole. Call the roll.
Mr. Wooten?
Motion to grant.
Grant?
Yep.
All right, so that's a no vote on the motion. The motion is denied, so you're voting no. No to deny.
No to deny.
Yeah.
You vote no, right?
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Mr. McElroy? No. You're voting no on this line? Right. Okay. Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Curley?
What does yes mean?
To deny.
Yes or no? Oh, yes,
I know, yes or no?
Just so no.
Yes to deny.
Yeah.
Motion is denied. So the next case this evening is 7 Huss Court, parcel number 053-738-014. Petitioner is it Pham?
Yeah.
Sorry, by his attorney Sam Vitale.
So we're going to permit the alteration to a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling to allow its use as a two-family residence in the R5 district on a lot with less than the current required area, frontage, side, and rear yard of parking within 5 feet of the property line.
This is it, that's it. No, I'm sorry.
Does everybody have one of the, I'm Attorney Vitale, I represent Safety Farm. Well, this is another example where the records of the building department become very relevant. The building department records said it as a one-family, a two-family. There's a letter from the former deputy commissioner, Mr. Mucci, who said it's two-family. If you're going to do alterations, you need to go to, and if you expand the use or expand the building. And so they bought the property. The work had been underway. They understood it to be a two-family because the building department issued a series of permits that you could see in the street record to do X, to do Y, to do Z, until the day came, as I understand it, I think it's like the gas fitter or the guy that comes last to inspect and put the tag on, said, this is in the two-family, and he wouldn't give him the tag. Meanwhile, the work had been commenced, they had relied upon what they were told, they had expended the money, and they called me and I said I'd go look at the records. And I did go look at the records, and I could see, again, that I couldn't understand honestly how Mucci, based on what I saw, arrived at his conclusion, but I could see somebody having a letter from the Deputy Building Commission saying it's a two-family dwelling, relying on that.
Well, what did they buy it as?
They bought it.
We bought us a two-family
They bought it at a foreclosure from the,
from the bank.
it was a foreclosure by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac.
It doesn't say in it what they bought it as. I looked at that. I was surprised that it does not say, you know, at least what we have here.
Yeah, I gave you a copy of the deed, I think, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not, so, no, I don't know if this is the whole deed or not.
Yeah, but it was under construction when they bought it. As I understood it, and the story they had, is they said, this is what I was told, and I then made my input. They said that it had been permitted as a two-family, and the guy ran out of money. Well, I looked at it and said, I could see evidence both ways. So I resolved doubts against ourselves and said we would come here and seek the permission of the board to make it a legal two-family. We would provide parking where there was none before. The building's being refurbished. And as far as the layout, it was laid out the way it's laid out in those plans when they bought it.
So when they bought it, it was under construction.
Yeah.
Was there a permit?
There were many permits. There were several different permits, but I could see, it's like the holes into some of its parts. In other words, somebody got a permit to put windows in.
Oh.
And then they got a permit to put in appliance or hookups. It's only when they came to putting, how many burners? There are 2 burners. It's only when the man came to give the tag that they put on to say this is the final inspection, that inspector said, I'm not going to give you the tag because it's not, we don't have records of it as a two-family. So he stopped. And so I suggested that the better way was to remove all doubt and to come here and seek permission. And to seek permission, we needed to satisfy the current parking, which if it doesn't change, it doesn't need to have. That we allow them to make the refurbishment, but there is a set of plans, the architect has done, but as far as the layout goes, the layout was the way it was when they bought it, and then somebody had done some of the work. There's a whole series of permits for different tradesmen that were approved, but when you look at it, some of the tradesmen don't fill in the current use, some do, some put whatever, but ultimately, I think they would rest their hat on the fact that there was a letter from the deputy building commissioner that said it was a legal two-family.
So they bought it when? In,
Not that long ago.
September 13th.
yeah, I think you might have talked about it, but what permits were you able to obtain from the city to work on this property?
As a two-family.
No, but what permits did you?
Like fitting.
That's it?
There had already been all the other alterations.
'Cause I see 3 vehicles there, I see a truck there all the time. Are people living in there?
First floor, yeah.
It's been under construction for
Yeah,
a
the dorm
period
is
of
on.
time.
The dorm is on?
No,
No.
dormer, no.
No.
The dorm is no. So basically, what you're looking to do here is basically expand the second floor.
It's already there, all we have to do is for the, like, they said,
You need to tell the people your name and come up here.
oh, sorry. My name is Sarah Wee, and live in Linfield. When we bought, the second floor already exists, but they won't give us the smoke detector, the smoke alarm, because they said, when they call the inspector to inspect, they said, it's a second floor, it's not like legal, it's two families, so they asked the second floor to move out before we do the closing.
So let me ask you a question. So you don't plan to change the second floor to look like these drawings?
Oh, we gotta change to exactly what the draw is. Yeah, we gotta do repair. We just fix it up and make everything exactly what it
The
is.
layout's exactly
The
the
lay-
same.
yeah,
But
the
no
lay-
one lives in the same.
Well, the dorm is on there, aren't they?
The outside.
Yeah,
Well, the dorm is on the house.
I think that's what they're proposing is new.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you are gonna do this work?
Just the dorm, yeah.
So let me ask you this, how many bedrooms are on the second floor?
Right now it's 2, we gotta leave it as 2.
Right now, there's 2, and what did you say after that?
So,
Leave it as
You're gonna
two.
leave it as 2.
Yes.
You didn't say you were gonna add 2.
No.
And let me ask you this, because you're showing, let me ask you this, what are the 2 means of egress right now? What's the 2 means of egress for the second floor?
When we bought, they said the house is not legal because it doesn't have egress on the second floor. So that's why we add the egress in to make it legal.
So you have an outdoor stair.
yeah, they're proposing an egress
Yeah.
inside the house.
So this is a house that has been classified as a 2-family.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been paying taxes for 20 years,
Yeah.
probably more, as a 2-family.
Right. And when they come to the last permit they need, they deny it.
But it doesn't have that second means of egress from the second.
No, I'm not quarreling with the gentleman's decision.
No, I understand. I'm
Yeah.
just making sure I understand.
Oh, yeah, right. So that's why I said, come here and do it right.
If we grant them today, they'll be able to proceed with some of this work to make it a fully two-family.
They said that they would follow these plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at one time, it might have been split in half, 1 unit over here and 1 unit over there.
Right.
Now we're doing it in a different mix, but it has been, it's been paying taxes, as far as I can see, as a 2-family.
You do understand if this is granted, you have to do what's,
Oh, yes,
These
definitely,
drawings, right?
yeah.
Don't you
These
have
are
that?
nice.
Yeah.
Well, go on.
I wish we had drawings.
no,
No,
honestly,
I know, I guess it's nice to have the map and it has.
I said that to I said, I wish everybody came in with this stuff.
Well, we're trying. It's a work in progress, what we're doing.
Okay, I don't have any.
Any other questions from the board? Any other questions?
Even
Anybody
better stuff.
anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing none, I'll close it for those wishing to speak in favor. Anybody in opposition? Nobody else is here, so I don't think there's anybody in opposition. I'll close it for opposition. What is the wish of the board?
Motion to grant.
A second.
Okay, so motion by Ms. Curley, seconded by Mr. McElroy. Call the roll.
Mr. McElroy?
Yes, to grant.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes to grant.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Curley?
Yes to grant.
Yes to grant.
All set?
All
Would you
set.
please sign this, please? This is what we've approved, and this is what you're gonna do.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead and sign
You should
that.
have been, you should bring a stamp.
Don't you have a stamp?
Only grant?
Is there a particular place you wanted to
No,
sign?
right where
Mary,
the date
next,
is.
next,
See the
come to
date?
next meeting, can you bring the
Oh,
stamp?
up there, okay.
That way, we'll stamp them right here.
Thank you so much, sir.
No, it's okay, but I'm just saying, just like that way, no, I know.
All right,
No, that's okay, I didn't mean to call you out there, I
Well
just
said.
didn't know.
Thank you, and,
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you,
all so
Sue.
much.
I know you'll do a
Happy
good job down there.
We will, thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
The hair is different.
You need a
She
haircut.
called you out,
It is, it's just different.
told me my face was messed
You
up.
told me you liked it last time, I let it grow.
No, I didn't say I didn't
you,
like
thank
it.
See you, have a good holiday.
It's just-
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.